Hello, Thrivers. Welcome back to Thrive the Matrix, where we help each other thrive reality, not as it coulda, woulda, shoulda been, but as it is. Today I'm coming to you with our second in the series of I'm a Narc, Get Me Out of Here, Celebrity Edition, in which we are theorizing on if Sean P. Diddy Combs has narcissistic personality, or NPD, or narcissism. We'll be taking a look at the extreme lack of empathy that no doubt played a huge role in his alleged crimes and associated behaviors. Before we begin, I am a certified professional life, happiness, and cognitive behavioral therapy coach, so I am not a clinician. Thus, for that reason, we always theorize, we never diagnose, and we never theranos. For background, we know that earlier this month, the Southern District of New York handed down a bombshell indictment for the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. The indictment charged Diddy with running a criminal enterprise primarily in the service of coordinated freak-offs in which Diddy would gratify his sexual desires after coercing victims via drugging and violence to participate in days-long orgies that sometimes included the need for IV drips to recover. We know that NPD is a mental disorder characterized by pathological narcissistic defense mechanisms designed to maintain a false self constructed to protect themselves from an inherent core feeling of shame. They have so much shame, in fact, they believe they are irredeemably bad, so much so that if anyone discovered how bad they really were, it would literally destroy them. The stakes are that high. In a later episode, we are going to take a look at the shame of P. Diddy that may have contributed to his possible narcissistic personality disorder. To maintain that facade that masks that shame based on these non-identities and to meet their endless need, they engage in the devaluation, manipulation, and abuse of others, thus the gaslighting, projection, deflection, future faking, control, and coercion that causes so much damage to those in their orbit. So part 2, the huge deficit of empathy of P. Diddy. To the non-narcissist, the alleged crimes of the diddler and the criminal enterprise that enabled them are grisly and sickening beyond imagination, and in the debate on whether he is safe enough in jail to face the charges, many add they want him to get his day in court to explain how these supposed atrocities could be committed. To those people, I do have a bit of bad news. It's likely that at the trial, including the diddler testifying, it will most likely make little sense of what happened to the victims, at least in a way that makes sense to us and gives closure. In understanding pathologically narcissistic and psychopathic people, we often evaluate them from our lens, that of a rational human being that can't imagine the violation of people for the fulfillment of sick sexual desires, power, and control. We could never imagine perpetrating atrocities on another human being in such a callous and cruel way. We can typically only imagine hurting another from a position of self-defense. Why is that? One of the keys is empathy. Empathy for others is defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. We can't imagine violating a person in ways the diddler and his organization may have because we put ourselves in the victim's shoes. We value the lives of others. Narcissists, on the other hand, do not. The absence of empathy removes the check and balance that keeps human beings writ large from taking all sorts of actions. Why? Because we consider others when we do so. Not to say any of us would do what was allegedly done in this case, but ask yourself how some of your choices may be different if there was a complete lack of regard for others and their well-being. In fact, narcissists are completely transactional, and people are simply a tool used by the narcissist to fulfill the endless need they have in the moment. Every moment, to be precise. In essence, people are no more meaningful to the narcissist than a hammer and nail are to someone completing a DIY project. If someone needs to fix up a house to flip it for profit, the concern is for completing the renovations needed to make maximum profit. No thought goes into the hammer and nail, and why should it? They exist for purposes like this. Cassie and others are no different to the diddler. He needed to gratify his sexual desires in the moment, and to allegedly secure videos for blackmail, to, you guessed it, possibly blackmail others to ensure his sick desires could be met unencumbered, basically actions without consequences. In the reporting for this case, there's an example cited in which Cassie took P. Diddy to task for his cruelty, the beatings, the freak-offs, etc. A text along the lines of, "How could you do this to me? I am someone's daughter." This appeal wouldn't land with Sean Combs the way it would for us. It's akin to having to consider the impact on a hammer and having to facilitate a renovation. It would be a ridiculous prospect. First, because a hammer is an inanimate object which doesn't have feelings, needs, or the ability to make an emotional appeal, let alone via text. To P. Diddy, Cassie, and others are no different. This is also why those with this personality, you'll often hear people state, they aren't sorry they hurt people, they're only sorry they got caught. And they're right. Narcissists are completely self-centered and free of empathy, having nothing more to do than focus on how events impact them, even crimes this heinous that they committed knowing full well that they are doing so. Thus, the most we can expect from the diddler is much like we heard on his Instagram apology for the infamous video in the hallway of that LA hotel where Cassie was cruelly beaten and dragged. His apologies were hollow then, and any additional would be hollow now. That's not to say that Puff Daddy isn't sorry. He's sorry he was arrested. He's sorry he was jailed without bail, awaiting trial. And he is sorry that his actions impacted those he cares about. Me, myself, and I. So that's the lack of empathy, or the extreme lack of empathy, of P. Diddy. Join us for part 3, where we'll examine the core shame of P. Diddy. In the meantime, like and subscribe for this and others in the series. Until next time, Thrivers, stay up.